Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Shut the Hell Up and Sell podcast for another fire episode featuring a sales dynamo, a sales leader. I'm excited every week. In fact, you guys are probably tired of me saying that. Of course, you're excited right now. Yes, I'm excited. If you guys were sitting in my seat and you were as passionate about sales and so excited about the profession as I am, and you get to talk to the people that I get to talk to, you'd be pretty damn excited every single week as well. And today, man, I'm joined by my buddy Jason Cutter. What's going on, Jason?
Things are great, and it's funny because I start off my guest episodes, and like you were on my podcast, I say the same thing, and I feel the same way too. Is that I always say I'm super excited for this guest, and it's not just a platitude. Like I love talking to people about stuff. So this should be a blast. I don't know how we're going to keep this in any kind of time frame, but let's try.
Well, I got a little bit of experience with this, but I have my little tools around me to keep myself from getting too excited and going too long. So hopefully I can stay on track today. But I don't know. I mean, it's always kind of a crapshoot when you're dealing with me because again, I'm excited about this stuff. I'm passionate about it, as I know that you are.
Let's rip, man.
All right. So first and foremost, let's really quick. Jason is the CEO and founder of Cutter Consulting Group. Can you tell our audience what you do, Jason?
So I focus on helping salespeople and sales teams close more deals, make more money, around my central premise of using authentic persuasion as a tool to help people embrace sales, look at sales differently, and make themselves into a sales professional, at the same time giving the consumers, the customers, the buyers what they're actually craving, which is a radical departure from what the classic old school sales is. So I do workshops, training, basically anything to help people just be more effective at sales.
Yes. And guys, make sure you get out there and check out Jason's book, Selling with Authentic Persuasion. I love your T-shirt too.
Thank you.
Authentic Persuader. I love it. On brand, my guy. Well, and because I'm a branding guy. For those of you that are listening to this and not watching the video, you can see both of us. We're on brand.
Yeah.
All right, my guy. So part of what I'm about is just bringing just nobility back to this profession, right? Like you and I are one of the reasons why we're so passionate is because we just feel such pride in being sellers and pride in the profession because we know the importance of it, right? And so one of my ways of kind of bringing people back to that pride and joy that I feel is I want to put a number to, I want us to embrace our years in the game. I want that. So that's how we start every episode. I want to know, what was your first sales job? The first time you got paid to sell, what was your first sales job? And let me know the year.
So it's tough because if we really honestly look at it, then everything in life is sales, and how far back do we go? The first time I draw the line in the sand and say, this is when I was in a sales role selling something and getting paid based on my effectiveness for selling, is when I was 27 years old, 2002. So we just passed 20 years. It was the mortgage business. Funny enough, I actually wasn't selling because it was the height of the real estate boom. So it was pure order taking. And we joked about that. But that was the first time I felt like a professional in sales. Now, what's funny is, my parents told me early on, they're like, well, if you want to make more money and you want to do stuff, then, like you could mow lawns or you could babysit. And so I did that. I don't think I sold very well with just, people in the neighborhood. I didn't go active after it, but I would say, 27 years old, 2002.
All right. So 2002, let's put a number to that. So that is 20 years in the game.
And
congratulations
just a side
on that, my
note
friend.
from this, I also ran away from it many times, from sales, like took some departures from it because I'm like, I don't want to be in sales.
All right, Jason. So how does a reluctant seller become an evangelist? I mean, because dude, it sounds like you backed into selling, and now you're like you're out there killing it and coaching and evangelizing and training the next generation of great sellers. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I went into sales at 27, I didn't know I was selling. I thought I was just helping people because it was the mortgage business. You're just helping them get a loan.
Yeah.
But I am the result of growing up with a banker mom and an engineer dad, both of which didn't like salespeople. My mom was on the extreme end; she hated salespeople. Her actual first job out of high school was at a furniture store in the back office doing accounts receivable, and she would listen to the salespeople talk about all the terrible stuff they gloated about doing to customers, like, and charging them and ripping them off. And so she just taught us, protected the family, but also taught me to just hate salespeople. Like, we
Mm.
would go to a car dealership and we'd be there from anywhere from 2 to, the record was 9 hours, trying to buy a car while they threw every
Jeez.
human they could at us to convince her. And so she appreciates people who help, but she hates old school sales tactics. So that led me, that plus my childhood, and I was awkward and shy and a late bloomer and weird, and I didn't fit in anywhere, and I was bullied. I literally went to school for marine biology, and I got my degree and tagged sharks for a few years as a safer
Wow.
alternative than dealing with humans, which is literally the punchline of all of that.
Wow. I think that part of what motivates me and has for a very long time, Jason, is to change that perception because,
Mm,
the perception that your mom had and continues to have, it sounds like,
yeah,
is really the that person that she sees when she thinks salesperson is not a successful salesperson. That's not what
no,
success looks like in sales. Those are hacks,
no.
and they're usually the job hoppers, and they're not the folks that are winning and being successful long term because they don't understand that it's about service. Just and you learned that right when you started in the mortgage industry. You didn't think you were selling at that point in time, but you actually were, and that you were focused on serving and helping people. That's what we do. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, and what's interesting is that's what I thought I was doing. Even after the mortgage business, I was helping people in foreclosure, and I still didn't think I was selling. But then I had to learn about persuasion because humans that are in desperate situations get really stuck. It's harder when people are in panic mode. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is about service, and I think the challenge is, and what you and I are up against, and why we're both on this mission. And my goal is to fill the world with 1 million authentic persuaders. The problem is that is out there in the world is that sales is not a profession, and
Mhm.
that triggers some people who are professional salespeople, or they call themselves that. And it's not to put anyone down; it's that there is no profession of sales. A plumber is more of a professional than anybody in sales because they have to study, they have to pass a test, they have to get a license, they have to have, like, basically malpractice insurance. If they screw up enough things, they will lose their license and no longer be able to practice. Sales, you just show up and you start selling people things. There's no governing body, there's no oath you take, there's no entrance exam or anything like that for sales, like, literally. Um, and so that's the problem. That's what makes it so that people can just show up and do bad things with the wrong intentions, because it's up to each person to do the right thing. And then when money's on the table, man, like, I learned this from you. It's like, people will do what's in their best interest, right? So
Mhm.
it's like, how do you marry that with sales? And until there's actual profession to it, it's up to everybody to do their part.
What an interesting point to make, and this actually leads to my next question for you, Jason. And so, I feel as also a career seller, you know, almost 25. I guess it is 25 years. Jesus. Anyway, when I had the benefit of coming into an organization that really valued sales, right, and salespeople,
Hmm.
and really valued the skill set and profession. And what I found is that I was able to be nurtured and mentored, right? Like, sales is kind of like,
Mm.
think about that. Whatever, I don't know why my head always goes to like cobbler. It's the weirdest thing, but it is cobbler or cheese guy. Do they call them cheesemongers? I think that's what they call them. Anyway,
I don't
like,
know.
you go to Europe, and like, there is the master and there's the apprentice, right? And that
Yeah.
apprentice sits under a master for sometimes decades, right? And there's no official like book or governing body, but that master passes on those skill sets, those lessons. And then at some point, that apprentice becomes a master. And that's how I see sales. And so for me, it is a big part of who I am to this day. It is in no small in no small part due to those folks that mentored and coached me. Some of those being in a big way and some of them being
Yeah.
in a minor way, like those unsung heroes. So my next question for you, Jason, is because I believe this is how we continue to evangelize. This is how we help to bring our profession into the future and help those that are just coming up. I would like you to share with me one of those unsung heroes from your journey. I'm talking about, someone that maybe doesn't know that they impacted you. Now, this could be someone that impacted you on a major scale, on a smaller scale. This could be a negative experience, a positive experience, but someone that through their coaching or mentorship has helped you to get to where you are today.
That's such a tough one because
Mhm.
it's so many minor role players along the way. I kind of had the opposite intake into sales when I went to the mortgage business. My first day on the job, keeping in mind that also in Washington State at the time, you didn't have to be licensed to do mortgages. So
Mhm.
I didn't have a license and I knew nothing about sales. Right, I just finished 2 years of doing tech support at Microsoft, so I literally knew nothing about anything. I was renting. I didn't even own a home, so I'd never even gone through the loan process. Like the first loan I did was for myself. Like that's how far out from the side. I sat down with the owner of the company on my first day and he said, I sent out 10,000 postcards. When the phone rings, fill out that lead sheet, put them on hold, and then come get me and I'll do the rest. That was it. Hey, welcome to the mortgage business. Right. And
Mhm.
so that was it. And then I would sit across from his desk and he would put people on speakerphone and I would sit in meetings and I would just kind of absorb as much as I could and learn what I could. But it was no official. Over my career of the companies I worked at prior to consulting, I have received 0 minutes of actual sales training from
Mhm.
anybody in any company. Because once I started working for a company, I was in operations. They moved me to sales after they fired the head sales guy and they said, you need to fix all of this right away. And then they assumed I knew what I was doing. And then after that, everyone hired me assuming I knew what I was doing. And so I brought me, they didn't help me in any way. So like there's lots of little people. I mean, little
Yeah.
slices from the old Jeffrey Gitomer, Little Red Book of Sales to Sandler that I got a photocopied, portion of his seminars and studied I call it the pain submarine, like that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Like, it's those things. I think Sandler was very influential. I'm just not that guy to poke my thumb in the pain and do the fear mongering all the time. But it did help me understand people and a process.
Yeah. You know, let me ask you that question a little bit different way. In the book, I share the story of the gold watch, right? And for those of you that have read the book, thank you. For those of you that are not, please get the book. So the gold watch, I'll just kind of summarize it. I had an experience with an older gentleman, um, right in the infancy of my career, and he had walked into my store, and through a negative experience, taught me one of the most valuable lessons that I carry to me to this day in sales and business. And it was through a negative experience, and I never saw him ever again. He literally, our time together probably amounted to about 15 minutes total.
Wow.
And the lesson that I learned on that day, it's really a just pillar to my whole philosophy on how to do business and how to sell
Hmm.
people. And so, yeah, that's one of those examples. Was there someone that maybe a casual meeting like that, like not, or
Yeah.
perhaps someone that was a leader or someone that was a peer that made an impact in how you do business and how you see sales? And it could have been someone negative, Jason. Could have been
Yeah.
someone who was like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's shitty. I shouldn't do business like him.
Yeah, when on a positive side, when I first went into the business of helping people who were looking, and dealing with credit card debt, my boss said, "Here, you need to. I have no script for you. I have no process. Close 5 deals, and then I'll send you to one of our other offices, and they'll train you up." Basically, he wanted to see if I had the chops, and then I did, and then I went to the other office, and I learned a lot. The manager there just shared with me basically everything they learned, and I peeled out the good and the bad. Um, and so that was really influential. That was like 2010. But I will tell you the negative experience that I had that I also reference in my book is where I used to sell because I didn't know I was in sales and I didn't know what I was doing. I used to sell the way I like to buy. And so I'm an analytical person by default. I
Mm,
like lots of options. I used to. Now I'm just kind of reckless and I just, will buy anything. But like I want lots of options. Analytical people are tough to sell to because they want the data and the spreadsheet. So when I would sit down with somebody in the mortgage business and I'm giving them the options, at the time there were a ton. I would literally make up a spreadsheet with 10 columns of options and then give that to someone in a meeting and then
oh
let them
wow.
pick. I wasn't converting any people. It was the height of the real estate boom, and literally no one was moving forward. And my boss was like, "How can you suck this bad? Right? You've been at this 6 months. Like, how are you this bad? Like, literally." And then so he sat in on a meeting one time and saw what I did. He's like, "Let me watch this." After the meeting, he's like, "Don't ever do that. Give them one or two options. Do a
Yeah.
lot of discovery, figure out what they need, and tell
Yeah.
them option A, option B, maybe a third option. Stop giving them so many choices and putting them analysis paralysis." And I learned
Hmm.
two valuable lessons. One is you've got to if you're a consultative salesperson, your job is to find out what the best options are, path A or path B, and then give that to them. And then B, the other part that was even more impactful is how I and most people out there sell through their own filter and lens, and they sell the way they like to buy, which will only work at most for maybe 25% of the population, or
Hmm.
maybe even more detrimental if you sell like an analytical person buys. And those were huge. I was like, oh, I have to actually pay attention to things. Like that was groundbreaking in my mind. And I still remember that meeting to this day. And that was 2003.
Wow, I love that, and I
Yeah.
feel like that lesson is even that much more important today. That now that our world is so much bigger, you're selling to so many different people with different experiences and backgrounds and cultures, and so the ability to do great discovery, right, and then understand this is something we talk about in the book, understanding what matters most to that customer and
Yeah.
presenting solutions because that's what we do at the end of the day, right? Like we provide solutions, we fix problems. All right, so my next question, great story, thank you. That manager, what was his name or his name, what is his name?
It was Chris.
Chris, shout out to Chris. Shout out to Chris. Again, I believe that it's through, mentorship and that sort of coaching that we continue to move this profession forward and and create the next generation of great sellers. All right. My next question for you, Jason, is now it's storytelling time. It's storytelling time. So, in the book, for those of you that have read the book, if you haven't, you're gonna get tired of me saying this. Buy the damn book. Anyway, there are three parts of the book. The first part of the book is storytelling. Why? Because I believe that um, that we learn, a lot of us, especially sellers, learn best through storytelling. So I tell stories about experiences like the gold watch in my career that helped formulate my philosophy on how I do business and why I do business. And I feel that connecting people with those whys, connecting people with philosophy helps people to better execute on the tactical part of it. So the second part of the book is tactical. So in the spirit of the book, Jason, I'd love if you could share a story from your career. Something, share something. Again, it can be positive, negative, whatever, in terms of how it felt at that moment, but it helped to shape your philosophy on sales or business, and it's something that has impacted you to this day. Now, you gave one that was awesome. Now you got to give another one.
All right. So this is going to be a negative, positive, negative, positive sandwich bundle story for you. So, um, I didn't know I was in sales. I started in 2002 and then I went to work for a startup in 2006. I had helped people in mortgage business and then people in the foreclosure business. And I started studying persuasion, but not really. I didn't know what I was doing. It was
Mhm.
still a mess, right? And I was self-employed, so there was no one to actually guide me. I didn't have a mentor. Then I went in 2006, I went to work for a startup helping people in foreclosure. But because my brain thinks in operations and systems, I went to work for them as a director of operations because they already had a VP of sales. And I'm like, this is perfect. I'm an operations dude. Don't get me near sales. I've never sold
Mm.
anything. Of course, I'd already been selling things for 4 years and maybe longer, right? If we really want to put the label on it. So, about a year into that, they fire the VP of sales because he basically told the owner if he wants to close twice as many deals, he has to spend twice as much on marketing. And that not a good sign if you're not even closing enough. So they fired him, and I became the VP of sales and operations. And then I had to fix everything and run everything with telemarketers, salespeople, and the operation side. I didn't know I was in sales. It was a new process. The lesson I learned and what happened was we were helping people who were struggling. They had an auction date, time was coming up. You'd think it would be easy, but it's not. These people are stuck, they're scared, they're worried. Other people are trying to talk to them, other people are trying to get access to them or their money or their house. Like it's a tough situation to be in for sure. And I learned a valuable lesson about making sure you can always say that you did everything you could to help somebody.
Mm.
And it was the first time I did that. We got a call from a lady who was dodging us. It was Thursday at 8 p.m. She called my CEO and said, "I am ready to meet." And her house was going to auction Friday at 10 a.m. Like whatever that is, 14 hours later. And so he's like, "Jason, she wants to meet at Denny's at 10 p.m. So go meet with her and
Mhm.
talk to her." And I'm like, okay. And so I went and we were at Denny's for 4 hours because she was a chatty older lady. And literally, I was trying to do business and then she was chatting. I got back to the office at 2, sent her the contract by 3, got home by 4 for a quick nap, back at her house by 7 a.m. to chat with her at her house. And then she ghosted me. Her house was going to auction at 10 a.m. I actually went to the courthouse steps and she was there and she wouldn't make eye contact with me after all of that.
Mhm.
And I didn't get the sale. I didn't help her. She lost her house, which is all on her. But what I learned was a valuable lesson of if I know I can help somebody, at the end of it, even if I don't get that sale, can I say I literally did everything I could to help that person from being stuck or making the wrong choice or going down the wrong path? And that totally shifted, especially in the service part that you're talking about, where it's like, I'm of service. This person needs me probably more than I need them. And at the end, can I say I did everything I could, whether I got the sale or not? And that like just totally shifted my world, and that was 2008.
Wow. Wow.
So,
So tell me how you carry that lesson to this day. Like, how does that impact how you operate?
the biggest thing, and this is what I do a lot of training and help people with another analogy is that if you go to the doctor and let's say you go into the emergency room and your arm is broken and they do the x-ray, they do the exam, right? The doctor then comes out and says, "All right, well, your arm is broken. We have to re-break it. We're going to have to put a cast on it. It's going to hurt. Here's a brochure about broken arms. Here's my business card. I'm sure you want to think about it. Maybe you want to do some research. If you get this done by the end of the month, we're doing 10% off and we'll give you some free meds. So, I'll follow up with you with an email and let's chat next week and see if we can help you."
Mm.
Right?
Mhm.
Absolutely not. Like that would be malpractice. That would literally be ridiculous if they did that. What they do instead is they say, "We need to do this. Do you have any questions before we begin? This is going to hurt. I'm sorry, but we'll get you out of here as soon as possible and you'll get on the mend. Hold on." Right? They know how they can help you. They are a professional that took an oath and they're assuming everything. They're assuming that if they know how to help you, they will. And I translate that into sales, even though, again, like I said earlier, it's not a true profession. So we have to do it ourselves. But I do that same thing where it's not just about giving somebody potential solutions. It's about this is where we're going. Hold on. And if you're scared, it's okay. I'll help you. But I know how I can help you once I understand, the discovery and the prequel and all that stuff. It's like, no, like I know that if I don't help you, I'm doing you a disservice and I'm failing you and I'm
Mm.
failing myself. So no, we're going until you stop me, and that still might not stop me if I know I'm truly helping you. And again, that applies to anything. It doesn't matter. I could be selling copiers, I could be selling solar panels, I could be selling, credit repair. It doesn't matter because if I know of helping somebody, then I owe it to them. That's the
Yeah.
service part.
I love that. So here's one of the things I want folks to kind of take from that is you can only help someone if you know what matters the most to them. Okay. And this is a concept we talk about in the book. And so understanding what matters most to them, and then being able to articulate how you can help what matters most to them. Because, um, if using your same doctor sort of analogy, if I don't understand that my leg's jacked up and, and I have a problem, or I feel like my problem is my arm, and you're talking to me about my leg. Well, even if my
Or
leg
that
is a
person
problem,
who goes into the doctor and has issues and they say, oh, you need to have surgery, like let's say heart surgery, or you're
yeah,
going to have a heart attack. If you don't connect with why someone should care and want to be alive, people will literally walk out
there
and
you
not do the
go.
surgery
Yep.
and then die, right?
Yep.
Like literally because of my time in the foreclosure business, I saw enough people lose their houses because they were stuck, and I literally feel like I failed them. And so I put that on myself. I know what the cost of failure is. And
Mm-hmm.
so I actually think that out when I'm selling anything. If I don't sell you this copier, what does that mean? Like, how could that affect you, your business, your life, your family? Like, not to be dramatic, but it's like, why does this matter to you?
Yep.
And then find out from you, why does this matter to you? And then marry
Mm-hmm.
the two.
Connect
And
them
then the
with
rest
it.
is just paperwork, as I call it.
Yeah, love it. Great share. So my next question for you, again, the book, we're talking about philosophy and doing that in storytelling, and then we're going into kind of blocking and tackling. We're going to the tactical, the X's and O's. Do this 1, 2, 3, ABC. Because I feel, again, once you understand philosophy, you understand the why. It helps you to better execute on that tactical stuff. So, what I'd like you to share, Jason, is something specific that people can take away from this podcast. This can be some advice. It can be a very specific action they can take away from this episode and apply it immediately to start moving in the right direction.
I'm going to give you two because I like you so much, and I
Well,
know that
thank
your
you.
audience they've read your book, and if they haven't read your book, they should get your book.
Thank you.
One is going to just be a continuation of what we just talked about with understanding why somebody, why it's important to you. A lot of people struggle with discovery and questions, and a lot of managers struggle with getting their people to be successful because when they were in sales, it was easy for them to ask lots of questions. And then if you've ever hired new people, they literally don't understand or they don't do it right. Here's the one thing. This is the only thing that matters when you're asking questions in that discovery phase. The only thing that matters is, why does this person want or need what I'm selling? Now, you might find that out in 30 seconds. It might take you 40 minutes. It might take you 3 weeks of conversations. But until you know that, do not move forward. If you move forward, you're just an order taker, and like all the other salespeople, just pushing your stuff on people, hoping they know why. You have to know why somebody wants or needs. That's it. It's the only point of discovery. That's all that matters. And you have to do that before moving forward, before you pass go, before you collect $200. So that's the first one. The second one is understanding, and we kind of talked about this early on, is understanding that people no longer need knowledge and information. Thanks to this and the internet and what we're talking on right now, people have access to all the world's information and knowledge. Nobody needs to go to the store to figure out, hey, what are my options for buying a fridge, and how do fridges work, and what should I do with a fridge, right? Like, nobody needs to do that anymore, which means if you're in sales, they don't need you for information. They don't need you for knowledge, facts, figures, features, benefits. They can read your brochure. They can read your website. They don't need that. They need you for wisdom. Your goal is to help them with their situation and not just spout out a bunch of crap at them all the time while you're selling. Figure out what they're looking for, and then the safest way, and then guide them across the finish line. Stop pushing people, but pull them, with the wisdom that will help them. That's my two shortest ones I can do for you.
Wow. Again, fire as advertised. Guys, you can't get any more simple and pragmatic than that. Like, very specific, very easy to execute, right? So if that didn't connect with you, go ahead and hit that little button for the go back 30 seconds and listen to it again. Write it down.
Again and again and again, whatever it takes. Master those two things and you'll be light years ahead.
Jason, this was awesome. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on with me, chop it up about sales, help me in my mission to evangelize and to make people proud to be a seller and to get their joy back. Where can folks listening to this podcast or watching this, where can they connect with you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Anyone has any questions about this, want to talk more about it, want some more insights, I have a bunch of resources I can share as well. Can always email me, jason@cutterconsultinggroup.com. And then my website is a hub for all of this, including where I'm on social media. But there's two sides of the site, one for salespeople and then also for leaders and business owners with different ways to help. And so cutterconsultinggroup.com is the ultimate best place to start.
Yeah, and that website's fire, man. Great job with that. There's tons of resources, guys. So go to the website, cutterconsulting.com, and make sure you pick up his book. Where can they get your book?
It's on Amazon, hardcover, Kindle, Audible, or if you email me directly, you can get it from me directly. I'll send you a signed copy as well.
Beautiful. And the website's going to be the hub for all that. Jason, it was a pleasure again. And thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for sharing that wisdom. And folks, remember, if you don't take anything else from this episode, remember this. Shh. Say less, sell more. See you next time. Hey guys, it's Ronell, and I just wanted to thank you for listening to this episode of the Shut the Hell Up and Sell podcast. If you liked it, please rate us 5 stars on whichever podcasting platform you're listening to this on. And while you're at it, punch that subscribe button. That way you get notified every time we drop a brand new episode. Hey, I'd also appreciate it if you went to our website, shutthehellupandsell.com, and became a member. It's absolutely free, and you'll have the opportunity to listen to previous episodes of our podcast, check out some of our free courses, get a copy of the book, and we'll send you sales tips and motivational nuggets from time to time. Lastly, if you'd like to book me for either appearances or speaking engagements, just send an email to my team at team@shutthehellupandsell.com.